welcome to the Cultural Flip Side. I am so excited. For this show today, we'll be talking about black film and brown film and
black films
and amazing narratives as well. It's always good to feature people. Please, welcome. We'd love to have you here. And this is the Cultural Flip Side.
Good morning, positive people. Buenos dias, bonjour, bon dia, ni hao, memenjes, dobre utro, namaste, sawadi, chawem, manga nangu manda, como ye, sopa wanang sun, assalamu alaikum, privet, guten tag, calamara, and as they say in some neighborhoods, what's good? This is the Cultural Flip Side. Flip side.
Be careful.
I'm excited. My energy is pumped up.
Really
Let's get this on and popping.
Moments.
Oh, I know. Okay, all right.
Moments.
I had a moment there for a minute, but
I'm happy you had a moment.
How are you feeling right now?
Is it over now? I'm doing really well. I got new hair, and new hair means a lot.
So how do you stay pretty on a budget, girl? You gotta break it down for the viewers out there right now. How does she stay pretty on a budget?
I will break that down for you gradually. So today I'm gonna drop one little secret of mine, which is you buy a wig.
Wait.
Don't touch my wig.
Oh my God.
There's a pandemic. Thank you. Yeah. So you buy a wig. You know what I'm saying, and then you returned it. So only
you returned it.
Yeah, you can only just whatever
you gotta break that down for us.
Whenever you're shopping for wigs, just look. You go down to the fine print, and you want to make sure that you can return your wigs.
Oh.
Cha-chang, and that's how I'm looking. I was, looking like I'm having the best time of my life. Anyway, which I actually am. How are you, Kevin?
I tell you, as you can see, I'm clean shaved right now, right? So you know what? I had to think about what made me actually shave my beard. But I'm coming back with the beard, people. Trust me. Now, I got my 6 reasons why, and I started thinking, you don't like it anymore. So I went through a phase where I was like, nah, I don't even like the beard anymore. But you know what? I do miss my face. That's my second one there.
And the third
one,
I miss my face?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just take it out and wash it?
And you can't maintain it anymore. And you just need a little bit of change because I've been going through that, that transition in my life where I just needed a little bit of change, right? And another part was I just really wanted to see how my swag was without the beard. Then I wanted to see if I could see the chin right there.
I mean, we can see it fine.
I know. Jeez.
I mean, I have contacts on, you guys, I can't.
We're having way too much fun already.
Anyway, we're having way too much fun. I think that we're ready to chat with our first guest. Just a little background.
Yeah.
Her name is Giseli Colon Lopez. She's one of my closest friends, and she happens to be one of the, really big people in New York City when it comes to Puerto Rican community organizing and whatnot.
Awesome.
And through different institutions, she has been able to do this amazing work. So she's an amazing, agent of change through film.
Wow.
So she's here today to talk to us about the documentary, and I'm very happy to have Giseli.
So she's going to flip things around for our viewers out there today, and also let them see it from a different lens.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
So let's,
this lady, she's old New York. She's old Brooklyn. She knows that very well, and I'm very honored that she is here. Are we ready for her, Ron?
Let's bring her on. Bron, come on now.
Oh, there she is.
All right.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, Giseli, thank you so much for being here. First of all, you look beautiful, and the background is just so you and so beautiful, and I appreciate how you're always, with your Boricua pride and whatnot. So,
absolutely.
Okay now. So 50 years of Puerto Rican studies at Brooklyn College, and and we know that there's a film, and we're so excited about that. Can you talk to us a little bit about the film and how that idea came about?
Absolutely. And thank you for everybody. This is an awesome show. I'm so excited to be part of this conversation. And absolutely, this film fits a flip in the narrative. Right. I do a lot of my work from within a lot of spaces of schooling. Right. So I'm a graduate of the department. We endearingly refer to it as PEARLS. It's the Puerto Rican and Latino Studies Department at Brooklyn College. And it's one of the first ethnic studies, one of the first Latino studies departments, programs, sites within higher education in the nation, right?
Wow.
It's a West Coast to an East Coast story, all derived and motivated from the movement for Black studies. So as a student within the department, I started learning about the history of it because I took courses with one of the pioneering student activists within the department, Antonio Nadal. And I began learning about this history. And when I moved on to UConn for my master's degree, I decided to focus that thesis project on the development of Latino studies. And I found myself coming back to Puerto Rican studies. And while the Puerto Rican Latino ethnic group is statistically the smaller number compared to the Mexican Latinx ethnicity in this country,
right,
they're equally formidable, right? So everything that was happening on the West Coast was happening also here on the East Coast. And as I started researching and looking more into scholarship and looking into books and looking at what's been written, I realized for my intellectual knowledge that I'm accumulating, right, there wasn't a lot spoken about this department, and I knew that there was something that I wanted to do as I progressed with my own research work.
Interesting.
And I volunteer with a nonprofit organization, so that community engagement is very important and very distinct to this project, because from that space of working with a nonprofit and advocacy came this idea, let's do a documentary. The nonprofit, the Alliance for Puerto Rican Education and Empowerment, that did produce the film, what consisted of a lot of the pioneering student activists that were part of this movement. And so everybody was on board. We contacted the producers, Tammy Gold and Pam Sporn. They agreed to be the directors of the film. They're also the producers of the film. And here we are a year and a half later, even working through COVID. And finally, the film is available. And it really tells a unique aspect of what it means to, again, with this, it's student narratives coming forward, and what it means to organize and work collaboratively in unity. This is an interracial, interethnic, interlinguistic, international story that has existed, what I call a legacy of achievement, for 50 years. And now we have it in a 30-minute film.
Yeah,
That
and
is phenomenal.
she's
phenomenal.
multi-talented artist. Fun fact: she made this very necklace that I'm wearing today.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, she has
That's
a whole
beautiful.
brand called Alma Digna. That's why I have the pink to match the pink.
Wait, can you say that again?
Alma Digna.
Oh wow!
That means dignified soul.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very in line with kind of the persona she gives off. Just in general, like meeting her a couple of years back, and Giselle, I know that. You're very humble about your amazing, amazing things that you accomplish on a daily basis. Every time we see each other again, just like, oh, here's what I accomplished, right? Can you tell us a little bit about Alma Digna and how that came about and how that connects to your, broader community, Puerto Rican community pride in New York?
Absolutely. So Alma Digna is my artist persona, artesana, right?
Right.
I do photography. I do some artwork. This is some of my artwork that you see in the back. And yes, we match by accident today, but that's the kind of vibes. And
it was the universe. It was the universe, honey.
I love it. And it really came about from a source of pain and a source of healing in creating items, right? And creating wearable art. It's also linked to an organization that I've piloted, Creando, which is creative trabajando, creative working, a play on the linguistics. I'm a bilingual educator also. And I make items, I teach others, right? So I have a hard time in selling my jewelry because it comes from such a unique place. I teach others how to make jewelry, right? How to make items, whether you're in a school setting, K-12, whether you're an adult learning English. I've worked in these different spaces. And it's a motivation to and empowerment, right? And community building to make your own stuff and wear it and then have people acknowledge it, right? And you have that self-confidence in you to say, oh, look, I made this and someone's complimenting me, right? That's a boost in itself. And
my favorite thing about Alma Digna and really everything that she does, Kevin, is that she makes a point of always making, it Afro-Latino and really talking about the elements that she uses in her art Even if you look at her background as she speaks, it's a bunch of, Afro-Latinos, and that's very vivid in her work, right? As an artist. And I, as an artist myself, I see that, film work and that kind of jewelry craft making work, that's very connected because it's all, about creating narratives and getting together and kind of celebrating the ways in which our ancestors gathered together, right, in the past. So Sally, my love, how did you get inspiration? I know where that kind of came from. I'm just going to say this. So how did Brazil influence your work?
Yes, absolutely. So I did get to travel to Brazil for a while, and we were studying the African influence, African ancestry still in Brazil, right? This was a trip through Brooklyn College, specifically through the Mellon Mays undergraduate program.
Wow,
and
that's fascinating.
Yes. And, I do come from, I was born in the Caribbean. I was born in Puerto Rico, in Camuy, Puerto Rico. And I've always felt connected.
I love that town.
Yes.
Romantica. Sometimes.
And in Brazil, what really stood out to me were the connections to the Caribbean and the United States through the orishas, through religion, through lucumi, santeria, espiritismo, all these different words that we know it by and the different strands of it. So a lot of the figures that I use, is the indigenous. A lot of the cowrie shells speak to the African ancestry that lives within me, within us, within, everyone. And that's where, I pick up on it. So the colors mean something to me. The items mean something, right? When you place red and black together, it signifies a certain entity, a certain orisha, a certain spirit, a certain communication with the ancestors, right?
For sure.
You know what's interesting? Back in 2017, during the time of Hurricane Maria, I volunteered for 2 months in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I was in Puerto Rico for 2 months, so I had to go through the entire island. And that was the first time in my life where I did not see myself, or people didn't perceive me as black American.
Interesting.
It
Why
was
is
very
that?
interesting.
Let's break that down.
Because it goes back to what she was saying, how even when you look at Puerto Rico, right, and how people are identified. When I walked in a room, people would say to me, if I didn't speak with Buenos Dias, right? And had that English accent to it, right?
Yeah.
People would actually identify. They would just say, oh, he's one of us. And that was interesting. And that was the first time, because she's talking about the indigenous culture.
Yeah.
That was the first time in my 2 months going throughout the entire island where people would welcome me in their home and say, oh yeah, you might be my uncle. You look like my brother.
Yeah.
So, but it's so interesting when you think about the U.S., when I walk in a room here, people say, oh, you're Black American right away.
Yeah.
So it's so fascinating. When I left there, I felt a sense of pride in understanding the culture and how we're so connected.
Absolutely.
When you look at the indigenous component to it
Yeah.
and how we are all interconnected, it's beautiful. And that was the first time in my life, in my 40-something years, right? I know, right?
He doesn't want to disclose age.
Where I felt like I was not identified by my color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because you actually do remind me of my own uncle.
Right, isn't it?
Which is so crazy. Yeah, and I think that, anyhow,
Yeah.
Sally, my love, what are your, words for, young folks of color who are creating artistic work? Any advice or any message for folks who want to create work that reflects their communities? What would you say to these people?
Absolutely.
Yes, and I want to mention, I didn't mention candomblé, but candomblé is another very important religion that had shaped my understanding. My advice, I'm at this point where my advice starts with advocacy for self-love. You have to engage in acts of self-love, self-protection before you can transcend and help others, right?
Right?
You need to protect yourself, right? That's one thing that's clear from the way we're living life right now, the things that are happening around our lives right now, our realities, right? And then my next piece of advice for young artists of color would be just do it. Just go out there, right? And it's links to the self-love, which is believe in yourself and go out and promote it. I I'm a strong believer, and I operate from within communities, right? When that means is spaces that I feel like I belong, like-minded people that I can share ideas back and forth with. We don't always agree. That helps me grow as a person, right? When I learn about these different perspectives, right? There's power in unity, right? And also, just be strategic in who you're working with, and empower. I always try to empower and elevate the student voice, right? For me, that's the next generation of leaders. That's the next generation of decision makers, and lifting those voices from a very early age. So those would be the two biggest, right? And surfacing those silenced voices throughout history that are not present, right? Speaking back about U.S. curriculums, right? Those stories that don't exist about, for instance, the Puerto Ricans that got arrested, that risked their lives as well, right? In order to have access and education equity.
Oh, the experiments that they had they did the Puerto Rican woman.
Yes, there's the documentary La Operación with the sterilization of the women in Puerto Rico and beyond, right?
That's
but
right.
learning about these.
Yeah, the 1965 experiments. Giseli, love, how can we find you? How can we find you, Alma Digna, and how can we find the film?
So the film is available for screening, especially for any educational institution that would like to diversify and increase the perspectives and the disciplines within their libraries. They can go to twn.org, who is the distributor for the film.
Perfect.
You can also visit APRE's website, apree.org, and you can find out about screenings. You can find out about the organization. You might be interested in joining us. We're a global people, it's a global group. And as far as Alma Digna, you can find me right now only on Instagram, alma.digna.
I'm always
is
posting.
the handle.
I love you so much, Giseli. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
You have my heart.
Day.
Love you, love you, love you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
My friends are awesome,
Oh my
Kevin.
gosh.
I'm right. She's just such an inspiration, right? Because she's always doing work, like constantly. She doesn't stop.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that whole pa'lante, that whole, forward, moving forward, Puerto Rican, like she is the very embodiment of that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the kind of person who we go to for solidarity, for, and I think that she brings a very important aspect, because historically, curriculum in this country changed drastically after the revolution. That's why you folks go through.
Who's you folks?
American, U.S.-born people.
We got to clarify that now.
U.S.-born people. That's why you don't really get much of the colonial histories and whatnot. And
depends on where you live, where you grow up, what town, what community. Right.
But do you learn about Latin American colonial history?
I do. I did when I was in high school. But I mean, I grew up in Hartford, and I also was offered for me when I was in class.
But also because of Hartford, because Hartford is a pocket of Puerto Ricans and Latin Americans.
That's right.
But as a default, when you look at the federal level and regulations and things like that for curriculum, that's not a priority.
Right, and my school was like 85% Latino.
Yeah, so that was a priority. And it's kind of like, I don't feel like you really experience that until you have a chance to go and travel and see it. It's very overwhelming, and I appreciate that you shared your own experience. You know what I'm saying? So now,
thank you.
We're gonna hop on a boat and go from one island to the other.
Another island. Where are we going now? Where are we going?
We're going to Cuba.
Oh my gosh, that's a place I always wanted to go.
Cuba. And we gotta take a look at the teaser trailer. Oh, the trailer actually of our next guest, my other friend, Lázaro, El Papi Supremo, the Supreme Papi. El Papi Supremo.
El Papi.
He knows. Anyway, so let's take a look at the trailer as an intro to having Lázaro here today.
El Papi.
De la mano de mi abuelo puedo volver a pasear por las
Caibarín es un lugar maravilloso. De hecho, creo que a las personas les gusta más que sea gay de que sea hetero.
Mi familia era del campo, donde fue mi vida terriblemente pésima por haber nacido gay. Y desde que Adela surgió, que es pigó, que se le salieron sus plumitas, que a la luz pública se acabó caña en el Central Adela.
Era un hombre, la revolución era un barbudo, la revolución era macho. Las personas que tenían solo una debilidad, que se comentara, que se dijera, que lo aparentara, aunque no lo fuera, terminaban siendo expedientadas.
Antes había muy pocas y muy recogidas, ahora hay muchísimas y todas están abiertas, ¿ves?
Descienden sobre la ciudad multitud de plumas, caen sobre los techos mohosos, sobre los muelles ineptos, caen estas plumas de gaviotas y el pueblo una a una las recoge, las pinta y las usa en su carnaval.
Trailer to Villa Rosa, and we're very honored to have Lázaro here, the very director of this film. And it's interesting because here at the cultural flip side, I'd like to challenge something, right?
What's that?
Oftentimes we see ourselves in a position in which we have to translate everything for people. And translation is very welcome when it's like a really lengthy conversation.
Absolutely.
You want to get an understanding, but I like it when we get to experience other snippets of content in other languages and other from other cultures and things like that, right? Because I think that by watching that, you can tell what's going on. You can see the narrative. You may not understand the language if you are, from the U.S. and you don't speak Spanish, which very soon Spanish will be the dominant language in the U.S. Statistically, and I really appreciate this trailer and how we can kind of see that it shows, black and brown queerness in an entirely different light, right? And that's why I really appreciate those moments in which we can have this sort of.
So let's flip side. Let's flip it around just for 1 second, because we got people who may say they might think totally opposite than what you're saying right now.
Sure.
Right?
For example,
they may say, well, Paulina, I don't really know. I prefer people to just kind of stick with my own culture. Why do we need to really absorb another culture when they can just keep that in their own community? I know you've heard those comments from people.
I have.
So how do we address some of those issues for some of the people who are just like, I don't know if I really want to watch a film.
What's the appeal?
Right.
Oh, I'll give you the appeal right now.
What's the attraction?
Are you ready,
Let's break
Kevin?
it down. Flip it.
Grab your mug.
Flip it.
I can get my mug. Hold on.
Let's go.
Ready for the tea?
Go.
There was a thing, real quick, right now, because we have a guest waiting in the waiting
Yeah.
room. There's a thing called School of the Americas. So School of the Americas, for those of you who don't know who are not Latin Americanists, is Bellum power. So essentially the U.S. kind of invaded just about any Latin American country. That kind of during the Cold War, they were trying to conquer allies, right? Particularly during the 60s. And they established this thing called School of the Americas, which is sort of they literally taught Latin American government, and folks in positions of power to overthrow governments.
Right.
As a result of that very sad thing, you know what I'm saying? We had several dictatorships in Latin American countries, and we still suffer the economic problems of that. So the U.S. has a history of invading people's land and people's, way of doing things and thinking. It's been a thing forever. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the very least people here could do is listen to what other people have to say according to your own perspectives. Because the U.S. has been telling stories forever.
Right, and we both know that. So let's hear from my man right now. Let's
Anyway, Lázaro, my darling, you're on. Papi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank
How you doing, Lázaro?
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, having fun in California. It's so nice the weather here.
I know, right? I was going to say that.
I love this shirt.
Yeah, Lázaro's at Berkeley now. Lucky him. Anyway, lucky them to have you, Lázaro. And then, anyway, So tell us about what we just watched. Like, what was your motivation? Why tell that story, my friend? Like, why Villa Rosa? Why?
Well, Villarosa is like, I would say that it's first a fiction. It's more like queer utopia. It's more like a sort of idea of what I wanted, that perhaps what is really happening in Cuba. Even though I don't believe in the boundaries between documentary and fiction, for me, you make movies, you create películas. So it's not a question of what are you exactly creating. But on the other hand, I was looking for this trying to represent this small town in the countryside of Cuba that was surprisingly very open to diversity in the way we talk right now nowadays. But I was actually more interested in the personal relationship between all these characters, how they were like connected to each other, and how like working together as a community. They had a strong presence in this small town, and they were able to bring some color, some life, some happiness to this particular place in the island. At the same time, that was my chance to create a metaphor of Cuba in itself. Like, but going back to the previous idea, more like I think I was always trying to create more like what Jose Munoz has defined, like a queer utopia. So more like an idea of what is supposed to be than exactly what you have right now. So
right, and how folks perceive, Cuba, and how folks talk about it, But explain to me, Lazaro, like, do you have a personal connection with Villa Rosa? Like, why that, town in particular? Like, how that came to be,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually making another movie before, and I met the main character of Villa Rosa there. Is the hometown of this person. I was visiting, I was working in this other movie previous to that was before Villa Rosa, and I fell in love with the town, with the beauty of the town, and also with the people there. And in some way, I was feeling also a different kind of opening compared to Havana, where everything is more like commercial, or let's say capitalist. But it was very different. The way in the countryside people were reacting, even like attending to a drag show in Caibarien was very different to the experience of drag shows in Havana, for instance. What I'm trying to say is that there was a sense of community that I was able to feel there that I never felt in Havana in the same way. And also from the countryside, and so for me, I'm not exactly from Villa Clara, this area of Cuba, but I was also trying to represent something different to the mainstream Havana nightlife.
Right, and another thing that I really appreciate about this film, because it has several films, but this film will lead me to my next question, which is, when it comes to, Black, brown, and queer film, do you think that filmmakers and storytellers, do you think they take the time to focus on, queer joy and showing queer joy? Like, how do you see, filmmaking today when it comes to, queer filmmaking and, different stories that folks are telling?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we talk about queer, it's something that is more from the context of the United States, but in Cuba, no, people don't care. I think in putting like words in the same way that here, even the tensions regarding race, I don't think in Cuba are like represented in the same way than here. But in some way, what I'm trying to say is that people don't care in the context of the party, at least when I was making Villa Rosa. There was a sort of blending of everyone was there together, like, and that's what I was looking for. This experience of we don't care. We are more worried about what we're trying to become or what we're trying to be. That identity politics. That's tricky, It's very hard to define that. But I think also the identity of Cuban is before for many people inside the island is very different when you talk to Cubans in Miami and their races and so on. But inside the island, I think the Cuban identity is so strong that goes beyond other boundaries, or other distinctions between race or even gender at some point. I'm not saying with this that that's not racism or that's not like homophobia. It's the positive thing, of course, that is a lot. But in some way, when there is a party, people don't care.
I love that. That's my philosophy of life, and I know that Kevin has a question. Kevin,
yeah, absolutely. When I think about Cuba, I think about Cecilia Cruz, and I love her.
Celia Cruz?
Celia Cruz,
Celia
right?
Cruz.
But and then, we always say Cecilia, right? And especially like when I
Who
grew up-
says Cecilia?
I know.
Who?
When I was a kid,
Celia Cruz. Okay.
Celia Cruz. Let's get it correct, right? So, but what I think about is this phenomenal film that came out on her two years ago on Netflix.
I love her.
It was incredible, and then the film actually made me want to read her autobiography even more, and learn a little bit more about her trials and tribulations that she had to overcome.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things she really focused on was dealing with the whole aspect of her colorism in Cuba. So my question for Lazaro, when you think about like tone and complexion and colorism, how much does it play a role in films today, even in Cuba? And how does it affect a lot of people who are a little bit more darker complected when it comes to finding roles and being cast in certain films as well?
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I could say that first, unfortunately, we don't know Celia Cruz in Cuba that much because it's like banned, because it's like for the government. That's crazy when you think the main area of being a Cuban in the U.S. is Celia Cruz.
Right.
But I grew up without Celia Cruz, even though I love Celia Cruz, but it's something that I discovered more in the diaspora than before. So that's part of perhaps the racial tensions that exist inside the island as well. But beyond that, political reasons, because Celia was an enemy of Fidel Castro in
Absolutely.
An icon.
She's an icon.
But I agree. Celia was suffering this racism in Cuba before going into exile. I think that in the way I was working, at least for Villarosa, I was also trying to find someone if you pay attention, the drag queen in the movie is not a white drag queen, and that was very intentional because most of the drag queen scene in the whole country was mostly white looking, representing these blondies, this image of a mostly white blonde girl, woman. And for me, I was like, I don't think this is right when everybody's trying to copy this image of Marilyn Monroe, something, So that was
Lazaro.
part of my.
Yeah, Lazaro, I love you so much. Just one fun fact: he went to what we call the best documentary making school in the world, which is in Cuba. A lot of people from Brazil go there to learn how to make films and whatnot. Big people who are really big in Brazil go there, including Wagner Moura, the guy who played Plato Plomo from Narcos. Those people go to Cuba to learn from them. Lazaro, honey, thank you so much for being here. How can we find your work? Do you have a website, social media, Facebook page, anything? Where can we find your work? Villarosa and all the other films and your personal work.
Well, I have my personal website. I guess you can check it. It's LazaroGonzalezFilms.com. Also, my social media. I'm working right now in another movie, Exile, about Cuban queer diaspora. I'm working in another project that we could talk about in another moment as well.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Lazaro, advice for young filmmakers.
Advice? Well, just follow your dream, do whatever. You don't need to go to school to be a filmmaker. It's just, your passion. And but of course, in schools you can learn a lot, but I don't think it's always needed. So my advice would be always to be honest with yourself and with especially if you are working in non-fiction, even be more honest with your characters as well. So for me, the ethical question is very important for a filmmaker. Regarding, beyond where you're coming from, like what's your identity, whatever. So that's my advice.
Lázaro,
And of course, don't watch
Papi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lázaro. Appreciate you so much.
I love you, Lázaro. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to see more of Villarosa and also Sexilia, which is another film that we'll bring him back to talk about.
Yes.
Thank you. Gracias, Papi. Te amo, gracias.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks again.
Wow. Wait, you mentioned I'm a huge Celia Cruz fan.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. Are you ready?
That's my mother's favorite documentary.
I need to chat with your mom.
I know.
I really need to chat with your mom.
Yeah.
Not because anyway. So when I was growing up back home, right, real quick, because I know that we have it on the
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I was growing up back home, my aunts, they're very my aunts, my tias, my tia Dalvanir, that's her name. She was very into the Celia Cruz song, but she didn't know the meaning of it. The song is called Babalu. Let's go. Hold on. Está empezando lo velorio. El acengua Babalu. It's a little faster. It's like, dame 17 velas. Pa ponerla en cruz, and it's a really famous song, and she goes, Babalu, ba, ba, ba. So my aunt used to sing that song.
And what does that mean? You're going to break it down.
Just wait. Don't touch me. There's a dynamic happening. Anyway, I really don't. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Fun story for another day.
Yeah.
But back to that story. So just wrapping up. Yeah, so my aunt used to love this song, Baba, and she would go, Baba, lo, ba, ba, and screaming, right, and going crazy. And one day my mom actually told her, sis, listen.
She said, sis, listen.
Babalu is an Orisha, right? He said he was just talking about the Orishas, and the Orishas are African gods, for those of you who don't know, right? And Babalu is an Orisha, right? And the whole song is Celia Cruz, singing to an Orisha and asking for a boyfriend who won't betray her. Give me 17 candles to break them down and make crosses. So it's a whole ritual. It's a description of a ritual, right? But because we were brought up under this really Christian, conservative, Catholic and Protestant, my family, right? Because I'm mixed. My aunt was horrified. She's like, never again, I'm never singing Babalu. I don't know who Celia Cruz is. You know what I'm saying? Like, Celia who? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of that. And part of that is attached to that, blackness and anti-blackness.
Absolutely.
Right? Situation that we're just talking about. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of our time.
No. You know what? Because you know what? You made a really valid point. Dealing with like black and anti-blackness.
Anti-blackness.
Right? So when I think about black and anti-blackness, I think about our next guest. And Alonzo, which we call him Zoe. Zoe has been making films for over 20 years.
I was a toddler.
So Zoe, Ron, let's bring on Zoe right now. Because I would love to hear from Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
And he's all about moving things forward, empowering his community.
Amen.
Making sure that his community has a voice. Alonzo, how are you doing today?
Doing good, brother. Let me connect this audio. Hold on.
I know you're in Miami right now.
Must be nice.
Orlando, but yeah.
You're in Orlando? Oh my gosh. Enjoying the weather?
Trying to. It's cold. It's 75 or 78 right now. Pretty cold.
Oh my gosh. So Alonzo, tell the world a little bit about who you are and how did you get into films?
All right, well, my name is Alonzo Beckett. I'm the owner of Any Video Entertainment. I guess my story started, I went to Eastern. I'm an alum of Eastern Connecticut State University with my brother Kevin right there. I went there, studied communications. After college, I went to ESPN, and I worked as a production assistant, and then I was an editor there.
At ESPN?
At ESPN, yep.
Wow.
And also worked... Back then, I worked at ESPN like during the day, and on the weekends I worked at Channel 30 as a floor director, like telling them which camera to go to, and just basically learning all the nuts and bolts of everything. So once I was there at ESPN for maybe 2.5 years, I kind of saw like it's not kind of what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to do what they do for the world, for like the people that I know that probably couldn't afford it. Like, so I started doing weddings. Weddings was paying me the same amount for one wedding as ESPN at the time was giving me for a whole month.
Wow.
So I decided like to shift and do weddings. So I started doing weddings. And from there, it kind of grew because you can't do weddings every day. So I had to find a way to like keep any video like on the front of everyone's brain. So what I did back in the day, I started a DVD series called Grinding in CT.
Grinding in CT?
Grinding in CT. You know, back then the word was grinding. Like, you grinding? So that was the, you know. Yes, from the song, exactly. So I started a DVD series, and I would put local artists, poets. I put all of them on the DVD for free. I wouldn't charge them anything. I just go around town. I was at a studio called the Track House, and
I love the name.
and people would always come in all the time, like French Montana, Max B, like they used to come in before he was French Montana, but he would come through and record in there. It's a studio. But also a lot of local artists would come through and get CDs burned, because back then CDs duplication and passing those the way local artists got money. So I would see them come through, and I'd be like, man, I'll do a video for you for that song right there. They'd be like, yeah, how much is it? I'm like, nothing. Let's just do it. So I kind of like practice on them. You know what I mean? Because you can't really get mad at someone if they do it all for free. You know what I mean? So I would do those DVDs, and I did those probably for about, I did 8 or 9, maybe 8. I think I did 10 of them. I did a DJ edition. I did something for poets. So I kind of worked my way around like all the creatives, I guess, in Hartford. So as the years would go on, I would go do parties. There's a lot of people around my area that do parties, like all black party, all white party, or this party or that party. So I'll get a host. Another one of my brothers, Chewy, Sean, he's from Eastern as well. We played basketball at Eastern, so he would be my host. So we go to these big parties and we interview everybody like they're the celebrities, you know, like we're in Hollywood or something. And I would edit it and put it up on my at that time my YouTube page, and that's how people kind of know who I was or who any video was at the time.
Wow.
So and that kind of slow, you know, kind of like a slow. It was slow, but it kind of propelled me to, you know, where I am now, because with that I started when Facebook came out. In 2018, they started Facebook. They called it Live, Facebook Live. 2018 in the summer, and basically I saw it as a way to, as you see it now, everyone's doing it, but I saw it as a way to like, I could put all my content on here, and I can have my own network. Because the problem at that time, and still to this day, people need a platform. You know, whatever you do, you will need a platform to show it. You know what I mean? Because people have to go to that platform. So I was thinking I'm going to create my own platform. So that's what I started doing in 2018. So 2019, that beginning of that year, I started my network on Facebook. And the purpose of the whole network was just tri-state area, basically like Hartford, Connecticut, and that's it. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I just want to get right in here and show people in my city and surrounding cities, female, male, kids, whatever, like the greatness in them, like what they actually do. That you know, the big like Channel 3 and all that. They're not going to look at the unsung hero type unless it's like something they're doing for that month or whatever.
So Alonzo, you are very passionate, and you've met so many celebrities.
Right.
So
I have a question.
Right. I know. Right. I know I need to burn it out with this question here. But Alonzo, when you talk about creating a platform, creating a platform for people, can you talk a little bit about why do you want to buy your own cinema? And buy your own cinema to be able to show films to young people and also people in the community. Why is that important that we start spotlighting like our films, even like films like the film directors that we just actually spotlighted on the Cultural Flip Side today? Why is that important to start spotlighting these films and having these conversations with our young people?
Yeah, and if he could also talk about what he's working on right now, that would be great.
Well, what I think is always important, if you can, what I also noticed too, working like in corporate, no matter what I would edit for ESPN or whatever, they would always change it to what they wanted, you know? So if it came out and it was great, they would get the credit. And if it came out and it was bad, they would blame me. Right? And I would always think like, this is not even what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? This is what you wanted. And I knew, you know, whatever. So I figured if I make start my own network, I can kind of control the narrative of what I want to do or what the person that I'm involved with wants to do. So I'm like, what do you want to do with this? And it could be exactly what you want. I'm not going to change it or anything, because this is how you want to be perceived in the community or in the public. So I try, and that's basically the main reason why I started a network, so I can control, and I can find out, like through the network, the analytics, I could tell who likes what, where they're from, how long they watch, and all those things. So I can really control. I can really dig in the nuts and bolts. So as of late, I'm starting to do documentaries now. Like you were saying, the studio. Like a theater for the community. Last August, we had a Black Film Festival, and when it lasted a week, I did. I think I had 3 or 4 films in there. We had one about women, 180 Seconds of Freedom, it was called.
Wow.
And Deshelle was the brainchild behind this. She wanted to do for women, so I kind of just helped her create that. I produced a documentary. Did like I want to say 2013 with Abdul called Powered by Dreams. It's his story about having kidney failure and then starting the Dream Support Network. Like never, always wanted to, once he got the kidney failure and he went through it. His sister gave him the kidney and he became healthy. He wanted to never stop dreaming. So that's how it all kind of started. So we did a documentary about the whole thing. And then as of recent, I've done Undisputed Champs, premiered last year in August. It's a compilation of Hartford and surrounding, greater Hartford area, some of the greatest boxers that we've ever seen. Like Marlon Starlin, John Scully, and most of these guys, like 10 to 12 of the guys that's in the doc are in the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. So I thought that like no one cares about these guys. Like I knew about the boxing and I see them and I see them like, yo, that's like LeBron to me. Like, yo, you see, he's amazing. This dude was amazing when he was young, but no one knows who the guy is. So I was like, man, if I do a documentary and show these clippings and have other people talk about them and the effect he had in the community and kids, then people will kind of see like a lot of stuff that people go search other states for. It's like right here. It's like right here. It's just that no one puts a lens or whatever on that and have them speak about, what they've been through. So I did that documentary. Currently I'm working on Hartford Public High School, back-to-back championships, 93, 94, with Marcus Camby and Kendrick Moore. That was a great team, one of the best. One of the best ever in Connecticut. So I started to do a documentary about that, so I could tell kids about, man, this when I was in high school, and this was amazing. This is like, they were amazing. They're like, what do you think? Who's this? Who's that? I'm like, yo, Marcus Camby was a number 2 pick in the NBA draft.
Alonzo, you're showing your age, man.
And he came right from here. So it's just stuff like that. And the kids, you can see the kids once they see it, even adults, they're like, man, I never knew that. And that kind of gives me the energy to continue to do, same things like this.
That's awesome.
Amen. So,
That's awesome.
There's so many questions I want to ask, but right now, my biggest question is where can we find you and your work?
Absolutely.
And, please let us know where.
Everything's on Facebook, really. I have a website. My website is anyvideofilms.com, but it kind of directs you right to the Facebook because that's where really everything happens, all the shows. Matter of fact, currently we have a show called The Kickback. I do with AJ Johnson, and that talks about a lot of the Kickback talks about a lot of problems in our state, dealing with from like the housing, the landlords, the slumlords, to the then we talk about women in power.
That's amazing.
So he's the host of this. So this is like what he wanted to do. So I also offer the community, like, if you have a show, come sit down and talk to me. We'll try to work it out. We can do like 6-8 shows and we can put it out and I can show you how to do the back end and see who likes it, who doesn't. And then once you get to that point, you can decide whether you want to, add merch to it or do whatever.
Right.
But so any video entertainment is on Facebook and anyvideofilms.com are the two you can, kind of, and also anyvideo_ is the Instagram. So those are the 3 places you could find a lot of things. Currently this, like for the month of, Kevin was in the month of February, I did something called Fatherhood, Black Fatherhood.
Fatherhood Monologues.
Now you know.
Yeah, the monologues, we did Black Fatherhood all the time. We did that for the whole...
Wait, Zoe, can you say that again, please?
Say again?
Can you say that again, what you just said? Black Fatherhood what?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Right.
I love that.
So what we're trying to do is change the narrative, how people say like Black fathers aren't around for their kids. Right. All the fathers I know, they're Black and they're around, they love their kids. Like that's all my perspective is, So that whole month we were trying to show, brought in 28 men and they talked about, we asked them questions. Abdul asked them some questions just off the cuff and they talked about being a father or being father or fathering other people, just to give kids can come on Instagram and see that all these black men loving their families and their kids and their wives. So with that, then March came and here we are with Women's Month. So I got 31 women, and every day at 1:00, there's another woman come on that's around the community that's doing something great in the community, but that you may not have ever heard of. And then May, I'm gonna do mothers, bunch of mothers, 31 mothers. They're gonna come and talk about being a mother, you know? So just things like that in the community. I try to really like push, and I get a lot of great feedback from that. So that kind of keeps me motivated, keep doing it.
That's beautiful. Zoe, what advice would you have for young film directors or people who are striving to be in your position, who are interested in making videos, films, you know, working with celebrities? What advice would you have for a lot of those young individuals right now who are striving to be in your position, or even striving to be even at another level?
Right.
One word or a statement.
What I think, I tell people, I think a lot of things are, most things in life are very easy, right? The hard part is like being consistent with it. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be a great bodybuilder, just go to the gym Monday through Friday. Spend 2-3 hours in there. But that's hard to do. So it's, you know, that's why some people don't look like that. They want to. So I think if you want to get into this, it has to be something that you love to do. Like I edit, I'm on vacation. I was editing this morning because I like to edit. So it's something that I'm always the knowledge. Like you always got to, even if it's you're trying to get a doctorate, you're a doctor, you're a librarian, whatever you are, you still have to get knowledge every day. It changes all the time. So the more knowledgeable you are about what you do, the more of an asset you are to other people. You know, so I can speak about video to probably 98% of the people that I come in contact with because I know more than them. So it's going to be a conversation where I can kind of educate them because I'm getting information. So my advice would be, whatever you love, make sure you love it. Make sure you love it. Don't love it because you think he's getting all this attention or he's getting all this money and all. Because a lot of things I don't do for money. You know, like the fatherhood things, those 30 interviews, the women, I don't get any money from that. I just like doing it. So I think you should love what you do and try to be a sponge, man. Get as much knowledge as you can. Be approachable. Talk to people. Look for a mentor. Find somebody that you like, that you want to be like, that you admire, and then call them up. You know, don't, you know, and see if they want to. You can come down and talk to them. Maybe they can give you some advice. You know, just know that to be wherever you want to be in life, you're going to need help. You can't do it yourself. Like you're going to need help. I have hosts. I have people that I send videos to about their feedback. What do they think? So it's you, but it's really people that's supporting you that you really need. You know, because when you have downtimes, you like to call a brother and be like, "Yo, man," and they can tell you, "Man, you're doing a great job, man." Sometimes you need that. So just be very knowledgeable in your field and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Like even TV, when I watch TV and movies, like I know when to like cut and when to like dissolve or when to. So I know these things because I watch it so much, you know. And so when people see it, like, oh, it's so easy for you. It is and it's not. But I've done it so much that now it becomes like second nature. It's like walking. Like you can walk. Like, well, you walking. We all walk because you walk all the time. So it's like you can skip. You can do a bunch of stuff, but because you do those things all the time. Right. So I think
Amen.
Love what you do and do it all the time.
Love you, bro. Thank you so much for taking time out to be on the cultural flip side today.
Indeed. Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
you, man.
Love having
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and continue doing the great work you're doing and empowering the community.
Amen.
Your community and also just throughout the nation. Thank you so much for taking time out. Love you, man.
I love you too, bro. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.
What a day.
Oh my
what
gosh.
a day. What are
Incredible.
your takeaways, Kevin? There's a lot, right?
There's a lot. I'm still just taking it all in. I mean, we just met 3 phenomenal individuals.
Amazing.
3 phenomenal individuals.
Yep.
You know, just selfless individuals.
Just you like Celia Cruz? Anyway.
You know?
Yeah. So
you know,
back to your takeaways.
It's just, no, it's just awesome. You know, I always enjoy our guests, just their passion, their love.
For community and film and telling stories from different perspectives. I love that. I think that kind of echoes my takeaways. We're kind of like on the same page.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I think we should wrap up with a Celia Cruz song.
But you know what really pops in my brain is that I just keep thinking about Langston Hughes. You know, when he wrote the poem Harlem, and it says like, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat or syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Now, when I think about these individuals, these three awesome individuals we had on the show today, none of them have ever made any excuse or allowed their dreams to be deferred.
Right.
They continue to persevere and continue to strive for excellence, not for themselves, but to make sure that the voices within their communities
Amen.
are being heard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Powerful.
Very powerful.
And I want to tell you, thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Amen.
You know,
Same.
because that's what it takes right here on the Cultural Flip Side. We got to work
I
together.
gave him one high five today. Thank you so much for being here with
Yeah.
us.
So for everyone out there, because I know it's COVID, as you said
Right.
earlier, I know we play around a little bit here on the show,
Yeah.
but on a more serious note, you know, let's do a prayer for people right now because people are really struggling.
All right.
Thank you, Father, so much for this day. Thank you for allowing us to come together. And thank you for this beautiful, awesome show that we have, Cultural Flip Side. Amen.
Hey,
Love you all. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey,
Peace.
mama. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. La rumba me está llamando. Pongo, dile que ya. All right, this is it. Cultural Flip Side. Thank you, everybody.